This is the Atlanta Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hello everyone, I'm Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Atlanta Small Business Show. On today's show, we're so pleased to welcome in Lisa Amundsen and Leslie Kuban. Leslie is a franchise industry expert here in Atlanta and owner of FranNet. And Lisa is the owner of Les Macarons franchise in Alpharetta, Georgia. Did I say that right?
Absolutely.
That's pretty fancy. How do you say it?
Les Macarons.
Les Macarons.
Les Macarons.
So fancy. Wow.
I've learned over the couple months.
Sure. So for the people that are not as familiar with Les Macarons, tell us what it is.
It is a family-owned business by a French family who moved to the States about 11 years ago and decided to open up their own business, and about 6 years in decided to franchise, and we are one of the first franchisees here in the Atlanta area.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
And we're talking now about these beautiful pastries that are sitting on the table in front of us, right?
Yes.
And I've seen these before and completely impressed. I've tasted them. They're amazing. So I'm sure you're going to do very, very well here in the Atlanta market, right?
That's what we hope.
Yeah, because whenever we go to the mall, we'll think nothing of dropping $20, $30 on things like this because they're so good, right? So,
Absolutely,
yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
So where is the first location?
So our first location is at North Point Mall in Alpharetta.
Okay.
And we have a great kiosk with a variety of products that is right in the middle of a rotunda by American Girl and Starbucks.
Everyone knows where that is.
So you'll be able to find us very easily.
Yeah. And it goes perfect with the Starbucks, right?
It goes perfect with a nice Starbucks cup of coffee. You're welcome for the plug.
Right. That's exactly right. Talk to us about what your background was before jumping into buying a franchise and being in your own business.
Okay, well,
tell us the story.
The story. So my degree is in hospitality management. So I've just never done the food service side of it. So I've always been on the hotel side. And I currently work for a company called Helms Briscoe, and we are the largest third-party procurement company in the world.
Wow.
And
really?
we get to work with meeting planners every day and help them find locations for their meetings.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So it is a great job. It's my favorite. I've been there 15 years, and I really don't anticipate leaving. I love my job.
So is this considered like a side hustle right now?
I don't want to call it that.
Okay.
but yes, I'm trying to do both, and we'll see how it goes.
Sure.
That's kind of where I'm at.
And then talk to us about your husband's role in this. We talked a little bit before we started recording today. Tell us about that.
So my husband graduated from Auburn with a degree in accounting.
Okay.
So he's finance. He was a VP of finance for a large company here in Atlanta, and unfortunately during a reduction in force was let go.
Right, as so many others at
Right,
certain times.
exactly.
Sure.
So he just decided one day, you know what, I am done with corporate. Let's do something together.
Wow.
So we kind of took a step back and we were kind of like, well, what are we going to do?
Right.
And that's where Leslie came in.
I was just going to say, enters Leslie Kuban, right? So talk to us about Leslie when they come to you and they say, okay, we want to do something, we're really not sure what.
And theirs is a very similar story to a lot of couples that I work with. He attended one of my presentations, this is the crash course in franchising if you're thinking about attending or opening a small business. Right. Franchising is one way that you could go, and here's the pros and cons of that.
That's right. And there's a lot of pros.
A lot of pros.
There's a lot of pros.
Yes.
But it's not for everybody.
Right.
And that's a part of the conversation. Is if you want to start a business, is franchising really the best fit for you to consider entrepreneurship?
Sure.
But that started the conversation, and I think it triggered your conversation.
It really did.
Yeah.
It did.
About, do we want to do something together?
Right.
And it became an opportunity for them to work together and go into a business where you get to use your skills on the people, the customer facing, the business development. And Dave's more on the back end using his finance CFO skills.
Yeah, how great is that you've got that in a
divide
partnership?
and
Right, because I wouldn't want to do what he does,
Yeah,
and he definitely doesn't want to do what I do.
Yeah.
So
And
it works out well.
This is always interesting to me, Leslie, that people will come to you because you've placed so many people with franchises that fit their need. But they'll come to you and say, we don't know yet what we want to do. And spending time with you is kind of like a one-stop shopping. It's like kind of going to the mall. It's like it's all right here, you know? And talk to us about that and that process, because I know you have kind of an analysis that you do, right, with your prospects to say, well, let's talk about this for a minute.
And it starts with a conversation about, what do you want your life to look like? If people are looking at making a change from what they've been doing, if they want to start a business, it's because they want their life to look a certain way.
Yeah.
They want to use their talents. They want to control their lifestyle a bit better. Maybe they want to work with family members. And it's different for every person.
Right.
So that's where you kind of start with your shopping list before you go to the mall of opportunities, because you could spend your whole lifetime looking at the 4,000 plus different options out there. So the process is really creating a strategy for shopping first, so we can narrow it down to the short list of options that make the most sense. So you spend forever and a day trying to figure out what you should do.
That's right. And it was interesting that you said, what do you want your life to look like? Now that he comes from corporate America, you love your permanent job, so that's got to play into it. What role do you want to really play in this? And then what's the long-term play on it? Is something you want to do for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Do you want to open up other locations? I think you mentioned before we got recording that's part of the plan as well.
Exactly,
right?
That is part of our plan. We want to open up to 3 locations, and then we'll see what happens from there, maybe more.
That's great.
If we're lucky.
Sure. Now, when you look at a franchise like this, and Leslie says, "Hey, we've got a few to choose from here, based on what you're telling me and the feedback that you're providing," how much research do you do on this particular franchisor to say how many are there out there? Do you talk to those other franchisees? Walk me through that.
It was great. She put us in touch with a lot of the recruiters for, we started with 5, right? I think 5.
Okay.
And it was researching.
Is that an average number? What do you find to be the case? Do you give everyone 5 or 6 to choose from, or?
And somewhere between 3 to 5.
Okay.
And I think it really helps a person's learning process to look at some really different things.
Okay.
Let's look at some consumer-oriented businesses. Something in food, home service.
Right.
Business to business. A lot of times people know they want something, but they don't know what.
Yes. Yeah.
So we tease out what a person's real preferences and priorities are by doing some comparative shopping.
Okay.
And I aim to get it right the first time, and most of the time I do.
She did.
Because there's a lot of work you do in advance, so you know what to go shop for.
Right.
So you don't have to just randomly pick ideas and see what sticks.
Right.
It's a thoughtful process.
Sure.
So I do usually get it right the first time.
That's great.
But not always. Sometimes the first 3 or 4 or 5 businesses we look at, it's just how we learn. What is really going to make the mark for that person.
Sure.
So I can then pivot us to a whole different set of different types of options.
Right.
And then usually the right one is in the second set, if not the first.
So she gives you this franchise, you look into it and do your research, and as you were saying, you spoke to
We
a
did.
few of
We
the
would
others.
call, we technically talked to the recruiters first, and then you kind of go into, here's some of the owners, here's some of the franchise owners.
Right.
Give them a call, talk to them, and I'll tell you, they were very forthcoming.
Yeah.
They wanted you to succeed, and
Right.
they wanted to be honest up front, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, sure.
There was no sugarcoating, which I liked, because as a
Is that a little
somebody
bakery reference? Or?
a little bakery reference.
They weren't just full of filling.
It was definitely a process, and what I enjoyed was talking with the owners and finding the good and the bad so that we can make a good decision, because we're ultimately investing money.
Yeah, for sure.
So you didn't want to just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. And so once you go through all that process, then you kind of start eliminating the different franchises that we weren't fitting our bill.
Right.
We didn't want to be uninvolved, but we didn't want to have to be, quote, in the office all day, every day. So we had a fine line, and we knew what we wanted. My big thing was, and I said this to you many, many times, I want to make people happy. That's just my thing.
Wow.
So this, I feel like, this is a happiness brand.
Yes.
So that was what I was most excited about.
If in the event somebody goes to a franchisor and they've had some of the franchises that have closed, is that still okay to be looking at that franchise if let's say they've opened up 100 but 20 of them may have closed, but it might be a thing where it didn't work for those individuals, right?
So I would love to say that everybody bats 100 when they go into business, but there are people even with the best franchise systems that it doesn't work out. And it could be, they get into the business and they realize they didn't really know what it would take to be successful. Like people will confuse what the business is and what their role in it really needs to be. And sometimes life can change. There's a health problem, there's a divorce. Sometimes big changes in the economy depending on the type of business. And when people get started, that can be an influence in
a friend
certain
of mine
people.
that I met recently, purchased a franchise, and it happened to be a sandwich type franchise. I said, hey, how are your franchises doing? He had 2 of them. He goes, oh, I ended up closing them. And I said, why? Why? I thought they were doing really good. He goes, well, we were really expecting to make, $300,000-$400,000 a franchise, and we ended up really only making $150,000. And I'm like, the businesses were making $150,000 and you closed them? He goes, yeah. He goes, it just wasn't, worth where we were in life. It wasn't worth and I found that to be interesting. Here are these franchises making $150,000 a year, each one of them. And he closed them simply because his expectation and his level was more like $400,000. You know what I mean? So you come across people like that, right?
And they're just people that are ready to move on.
Right.
So at any given time, even in the best franchise systems, there'll be people who are ready to exit, or it wasn't meeting their expectations. So it isn't automatically a red flag.
Right.
You want to investigate it further.
Sure.
But it is normal to expect that to some degree in any franchise system.
I don't care if it's McDonald's or Burger King or any of them out there are going to have some that just fell by the wayside for whatever reason. It might have been location or demographics or whatever the case might be, that they just said, hey, we're going to close a few of these. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the franchisor is in trouble or that it's a bad product. Right? Yeah, for sure. So so talk to us. What's the plan? And you want to get 2 more stores going, right?
We do. We do. This current one is a kiosk. So we sell all of our product, which entails 20 different flavors of macarons. And we have gelato, about 8 flavors at a time.
Wow.
He hand makes everything, which is amazing. It's all done by our French pastry chef. So the nice part is that you can kind of pick up a little bit of everything while you're there. So you can pick up some macarons, you can pick up some eclairs, some Napoleons. My second location, we're looking at actually going a little bit off of the beaten path, which is we're developing a brand new outdoor kiosk that will be placed at Avalon.
Wow, very nice.
So we are working on that one. It's a brand new design. We're working with the owners of the franchise as well as their team.
And this is one that's
this
never
one
been
has not
rolled
been
out.
done yet.
Wow,
yes,
very
this
cool.
one has not been done yet. So we are hoping to get open at the beginning of next year.
Wow.
So
Very
fingers
exciting.
crossed. This one will be just macarons only. So just a kind of quick pick me up as you're walking around outside. And then hopefully our third location will be that full sit down French cafe.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
We're excited about
that. And
that.
it sounds like you're off and running on the planning of those other franchises already, the franchisees already, right? I mean, that's pretty exciting.
We are cruising along, hopefully.
Yeah. So you're not looking to say, okay, well, let's see how this first one does, and then a year later we'll maybe think about another one. And
no, we're kind of just going. We believe in the product.
Right.
I think the product speaks for itself. The company is fabulous, and I love that it's family run. And it's nice because you don't feel like you're a number. So there's about 50 to 60 franchises versus 150 or 350 or 1,000. So it's easy to pick up the phone and talk to the pastry chef, talk to the franchise owner if you have a suggestion or a comment or a question. So it's been a really positive experience so far, so we just want to keep it going.
Great. And this early on, Leslie, it's very important that this first generation of franchisees do well for a company like this, right? If you've got 50 or 60 or 70, that's going to really be the tell-all and a stepping stone to get to the 150 or the 300 or 1,000 franchises nationwide, right?
Right, which is why the franchisor, it's critical that they're on it, and they have a plan to support their growth.
Right.
That's actually an interesting example. Sometimes people feel like if I own a business through a franchise system, I have no creativity, there's no room to innovate. I hear that, but this is a great example of finding a new way to approach the business that hasn't been done before. And that's actually more the norm than not, where it's a combination of franchisees and the franchisor teaming together to find new and creative ways to keep expanding their brand and their business, which is really cool.
It's been a really great experience with them. And what I love is we were able to partner with a local chocolatier. So instead of doing what all of the other franchises are doing, we just decided I wanted somebody local. It would help me on the publicity side. I think she's already got a great following, and it's right here in the backyard, and so she can participate.
And what does she do? What is she bringing to the table?
So she is her company is Jardy Chocolates, and she's here in Chambly. And she is just her own chocolatier. She's a small business. This is her first retail outlet here in outside the perimeter, as she would call it, OTP.
Yep.
So it's just something new, and I feel like we're helping her, and she's going to help us.
So when you go to your kiosk in North Point, you can
purchase
also
her chocolates.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's interesting because there are some franchises out there that say, we have to have final say on whatever you sell at your location. So it sounds like you've got some flexibility there to be able to do that, right?
And that's another benefit for joining a brand on the younger side of things.
Right, because they're willing to try some things.
The playbook is not fully, completely written yet.
Right,
Some of these, maybe it makes sense to partner with someone locally on this aspect of the business.
Sure,
and that is one of the benefits of getting in early, is you have more say-so, you have more access to the top.
That's right.
And it's not fully baked
yet. That's right. That's right. What did you learn going through this whole process? For the people that are watching right now, as you know, our audience is made up really of small business owners, entrepreneurs, and those that are thinking about opening up a business. What are some of the things that you could share with us in this process from the time that you and your husband said, we want to open up a business, we want to do something in the world of franchising or otherwise?
It was scary.
Scary, sure. That's
no, honestly, he and I had talked about, he being my husband, and I have talked about starting our own business. The scary part came into, well, what are we going to do?
Right.
I think that, and I would recommend, work with someone who knows a little bit more than you, because you just don't know everything.
That's right.
And I think that was really the key for me. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were getting into. And if you're even looking at a business of your own, or you step into the franchise world, there are millions out there. I mean, where do you even start?
Right.
So for me, that was a big deal, and I was very specific in what I wanted. I wanted happiness. How do you sell happiness? I didn't even know where to start. I kept saying ice cream, didn't I? I kept saying ice cream is happy.
Right. Ice cream is happy.
Ice cream is happy. We kept going back to that, and my husband, on the other hand, was like, the numbers have to make sense. You know, so it was kind of not a push and pull, but it was a tug of war meeting. I don't know where to go.
Right.
So I think that was the biggest deal, was really, I recommend to anybody out there, get someone who knows something more than you.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And that could be in marketing, and that could be in franchise sales. It could be in anything, but there are so many people out there that just know more than you do alone.
And what's neat about Leslie's business and what she's done for other franchisees that have gone down this same road is that you don't end just at the time that the franchise closes and they say, here's your franchise. She can help you with so many other resources, right? To
Absolutely.
say, oh, you're going to need an attorney and you're going to need an accountant. Well, maybe not in your case an accountant, who's your husband. But all of those standard things that people need, that they say, okay, now we're going to open up a business. We've purchased the franchise. All of these other things come into play, right? And you've got all those resources, right?
She does.
Funding, accounting, legal, and I love to come to your grand opening.
And she comes to the openings. She's totally supportive. Yes.
That's awesome.
We called you for a lot of things. I mean, things like insurance, even. I mean, we got referrals on all kinds of stuff.
And if you had to do it all over again, no regrets in any area?
No, not at all.
Yeah, wow.
No, so far so good.
That's great. And you'll do parties, you'll cater parties for something like this, corporate events, if somebody, or corporate gifts, which is a huge industry, right?
It's a huge industry, yes.
Yeah.
We can do party favors, little tiny ones in a box.
Right.
We can label them with your ribbons or your business cards, anything like that. We do wedding towers, we do baby reveal towers.
Wow.
We can pretty much do anything that you can creatively come up with.
And how do they catch you on the Facebook page?
You can find us at Le Macaron Alpharetta.
Le Macaron. I love the way she says that. Le Macaron. Wow. Well, Lisa from Le Macaron and Leslie Kuban, thank you so much for joining us on the Atlanta Small Business Show. I love when you come in because you bring such great, happy franchisees that are so excited about their business, and it really is a great way to start a business, isn't it? Because you've got a proven formula and a little bit of hard work and support, and you're off and running.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you
for
having us.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Atlanta Small Business Show. ASBN is a part of the JBF Business Media family.